Welcome back to week 2 JavaScript. We're going to look at how to use a few of the things we've learned this week. We want to look at a very simple HTML document. This HTML document is almost completely blank. It just has a non-breaking space in the body. We've linked to an external JavaScript file. We have linked to an external style sheet, and we've titled our document. It has a document type definition of HTML5. Let's look at the CSS real quick. Not much there. We've just reset the margins, border, and padding on some basic elements. We've added a little bit of margin to our body and set a background texture to the body tag as well. Added a little bit of bottom margin onto our common elements. Other than that, not much to see. So let's go into the JavaScript. I'm working in Dreamweaver. You can work in any program you want. I put a link to Aptana Studio, which is a free cross-platform integrated development environment, in the link section on Blackboard. So we might use that next week, but it's very similar to Dreamweaver, and if you're using BBEdit or Notepad++ or Coda, it doesn't really matter. It's all standards compliant code. So let's define a function. And define a function to convert our temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. We start with the keyword function. We're going to name our function Celsius to Fahrenheit. We're going to open and close parentheses because that's what you do with functions. And we're going to open and close our curly braces to contain our code block. Give myself a little bit of room to work in the code block. And inside the parentheses, we need to put and declare kind of a variable parameter that we're going to pass in of the temperature. So let's just name it temperature Celsius, or temp cell. And that's what we're going to be working with in here. Inside the function, we're going to declare a variable of temperature Fahrenheit, and it is going to be equal to that conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So let's do the math. We're going to start out with our temperature in Celsius. We're going to multiply it times 9/5. If you want to look up this formula, it's in Wikipedia online or just about anywhere. It's a very common conversion. And what we've done here is take temperature in Celsius, multiplied it times 9/5. We've used some parentheses to force the order that the math is done in. And at the very end, we added 32. Remember your semicolon at the end of every statement in JavaScript. So variable temperature Fahrenheit equals temperature Celsius times 9/5 plus 32. We've got to get this back out and return it to the main program. So we use the keyword return, and we're going to return the temperature in Fahrenheit. That's pretty cool. Let's make it a little bit more user-friendly. So let's prompt the user for their name. I created a variable called name. I declared it with the var keyword. Let's assign it with a prompt method. It's put in my open and close parentheses, ended it with a semicolon, and we'll just say, what is your name? Because it's a prompt, we've got to have a second value, a default value, but we really don't want it to be anything. There's no assumption made on a name, so we left it blank. So I said, what is your name in quotes, comma, and then empty quotes in the prompt. So let's get this out on the document. We'll say document. Document in the document object model is like a parent object, and it has methods or verbs assigned to it. One of them is write. We want to write to the document. So document.write in dot syntax. We're going to open and close our parentheses. Write being a method, it has to have parentheses. We end our statement with a semicolon. And inside the parentheses, we're going to put in our text to the user. We'll create our HTML open paragraph tag and say welcome, and I put in a space there to space it, concatenate the name we were given, and close it with the closing, concatenate a closing paragraph tag at the end. Probably ought to test this. We didn't do any error checking. We'll do a little bit more error checking starting next week. But I'm going to save this and see what happened. I'll preview it in Firefox. It says, what's your name? I'll say Bill. It says, welcome Bill in the document. So it's working exactly as we expected. Let's go back to Dreamweaver and continue on. Now we want to ask the user what the temperature they want to convert, and I will create a variable with the var keyword. I'll call it myTemp is the name of my variable, and I will say prompt to get it out of the user, and my prompt will be the temperature in Celsius is, and I will use a default value of 100. Now, if you think about this, prompt being a method, you're not going to, you're going to give it some parameters. So the first parameter is the prompt separated by a comma, and then the default value of 100. I used 100 because we know that empirically from working with temperatures, 100 will convert to 212 in Fahrenheit. So we're looking to kind of do some error checking as we go along. So we've got our variable. We've converted it. We need to check our answer. We'll throw that in console.log because the user doesn't need to see our error checking here. We'll say console.log, the original temp is, and we'll add our variable myTemp. So I've said console.log. I've put in something for us to read. The original temp is. We're just checking, make sure we entered our data correctly, or we received our data correctly. Separate it with a comma and myTemp, which is coming from the statement above. So let's do one more thing before we go back out and check this. Let's convert it, and we'll say myTemp. We want to convert it from Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we're taking our function name here from the function up on line 2. So I'm going to go back down on line 14, and I'm going to tell it what temperature to convert, which is my temperature we got from the user. And on line 12, we are checking, make sure we received it properly. Other than that, not a lot of error checking. So let's check our value and make sure it's converting properly. So let's say the converted temperature is, and I think we've done enough work where we ought to check this, make sure things are progressing well. So I saved it. Let's go check it. Preview in Firefox is what's your name. I'll say Steve. Temperature in Celsius is 100. And if you look in the console down here on the lower left, the original temperature is 100. The converted temperature is 212. That sounds exactly right. So let's go back and finish this up in Dreamweaver. We want to do two things. We want to tell the user the result. And to do that, we want to write to the document. So we'll say document.write. We will put our message out to the user. And I'm just for the fun of it going to separate it into a few different statements to kind of show you that you can. So first off, I'm going to open my paragraph. Notice I ended my statement with a semicolon. So let's do document.write again. So if you need to, you can build your answers before you display them. You can put them in pieces out to a document. Lots of different things. Document.write is deprecated. It's not used as much anymore, but it's a good place to start. So we'll say inside our quotes to the user, the temperature is, and we'll concatenate, because we're writing into the document, we're going to concatenate my temp, and we're going to concatenate an entity of the degree symbol when the entity in HTML is ampersand DEG semicolon, and then we'll say Fahrenheit, and that really should do it. We've concatenated the temperature, a nice readable response for the user. So we'll close our paragraph with another document.write statement. Statement ends in a semicolon, and all we're going to do is we're going to put in here our closing paragraph tag, and let's see what happens. Save it, go preview it in Firefox. What's your name? Bob. It says, welcome Bob, temperature in Celsius is 100, it's 212. That's not bad. Everything is working well. We've got a nice nice message out to the user, very friendly. I'm going to refresh the page and put in another test or two and see what's going on. Let's say our name is Bill. Temperature in Celsius of 0 should be 32. There we go, it's 32. Very nice. Let's refresh it and test it again. 392 for 200 in Celsius. Let's refresh it. We didn't get any errors. Let's try, Bill is our name. Let's try, 55 degrees in Celsius. It's 131 in Fahrenheit. Occasionally you might get a fraction, and one of the things we want to do is test for a fraction. So let's go back and do just a little bit of math, do a little bit of work, and take care of that instance. So after we've converted in line 14 and 15 my temp to Fahrenheit from Celsius, let's use a math function in JavaScript to round that, just in case there's a fraction involved. So we'll say my temp equals, we're going to use the math library in JavaScript, and that is capitalized, the first letter is capitalized, so it's capital M in math. We have a method called ceiling. Ceiling just rounds things up. Floor would round it down. Round would do normal rounding. 0.5 and up would go to the next number. Under 0.5 would go down. But math.ceiling always rounds it up. So we'll enter in my temp, and then we'll double check it in our console.log and say our rounded temp is, and my temp. And we should be done. We've done a bit of work here, so let's preview this. What's our name? We'll keep using Bill. Our temperature might be 20 degrees in Celsius, and it says it's 68 in Fahrenheit. We have a original temp down here in the lower left in our console of 20, converted temp is 68, rounded temp is 68. Everything seems to be working fine. Let's say Bill again is our name. I refresh the page. And let's put in 40.5 as temperature in Celsius and see what happens. It says the temperature is 105 in Fahrenheit. A little warm today. And down here in the lower left, it says the original temp is 40.5. Awesome. Converted temp is 104.9, and the rounded temp is 105. Everything is working well. This gives us a friendly message in the browser by using document.write to the user. Console.log is giving us some error checking. We'll do that, some more extensive error checking next week. And until then, if you've got any questions, send me an email.